Hey everybody, wanted to give you a quick video on various ways to teach. What I don't want us to think is that Christian teaching is limited to formats such as preaching and classroom setting teaching. If that is our thinking, that's bad thinking. I am not discrediting those. I think there is definitely a place for them, okay? But like Jesus, he understood that in certain cultural contexts and social contexts, various teaching methods trumped, right? So when he's with his disciples and they're moving together, he uses object lesson. When he's at Matthew 5 through 7, when he's at the mountain, he does what we know as the discourse, the Sermon on the Mount. When he's with large crowds who are just there to kind of get healed or whatnot, or want him for kind of their own selfish gain, he often uses parables, heavenly stories with an earthly meaning that a lot of people don't actually get. And he would say something like, "He who hears, let him hear," and a lot of people would just get confused. But Jesus understood that various teaching methods they had different goals and different outcomes for different social constructs. And so what I want you to understand is, when I put before you something like the GIQ material, something like the Take Your Root material, what I don't want you to do is think that you have to reproduce how you were taught. So I don't, I'm a content guy, so I can sit down and just plow through content, and oftentimes I'm guilty of teaching people the way that I like to be taught, which is, I do like the classroom setting because I absorb like a sponge in that setting. But some people like conversation, and so intentional conversation around that material, or Q&A panels, or soft debate. I say soft debate because we don't want to walk out having arguments. Illustrations, metaphors, object lessons, where you take a lesson and you apply it to an object or a thing or an action, or something that we see in everyday life, to create image recall, using your phone, using social media, using storyboards, Insta stories, Snapchat to communicate your lessons. That stuff's all great. Using video, using podcasts, recording, using art, using painting. However you are gifted. I think about like Tor, who's lyrically gifted. Use that those skills and the skill set that you have and the giftings that you have to communicate content. In the age of information and with all the cultural shifts, we do not have to limit the way that we teach to one format. To do that, you would miss various people and their in the way that they listen and absorb communication. Here's a few things to understand before you go and employ some of these strategies. So before you just go out and willy-nilly apply these, I want you to think about your audience. I want you to think about their attention span. I want you to think about their level of education. I want you to think about how they learn. Are they kinesthetic, meaning they learn by kind of touch, by feeling, by emotion? Are they storytellers? Because if they're storytellers, tell the content through story, through narrative. Are they illustrative? Are they artistic? Are they musically inclined? Use those things to grab that audience. How long is their attention span? They say the average attention span of a goldfish is 7 seconds, and they say the average attention of a millennial is about 8 seconds. And so you have to understand that nowadays it's harder to maintain different people's attention for a long period of time. So these are the things that you have to understand. And then you have to understand your social setting. Okay, are you speaking to a multitude? Are you speaking to 200? Are you speaking to 5? Are you speaking to a one-on-one? Is it life on life? Is the goal an objective to absorb deep content, and or do? You just got to think about those things. All right, so I'm kind of running out of ideas, as I do when I drive, but that's been bugging me all day, and I just wanted to get that out to you. What I'm going to do is, eventually when I get around to it, I'm going to actually show you these tools on some videos, and I'll teach you using using some of these I'll use story, I'll use analogies, metaphors, I'll use object lessons so that you can get an understanding as to what it kind of looks like in action. Anyway, that's my time today. Take care, peace, and what day are we? We're Wednesday. All right, well, have a good rest of the week. Okay, see ya.